Hey guys, this is Black 117 here, and today I'll be going over our team for the upcoming well playoff battle as we're up against Chron of the Fredonia Flapples, so or Fredonia Flapples. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. So, and honestly, looking at this team matchup, this team's quite scary between Melmetal, Sylveon, Nidoking, like the Hydreigon, Rotom, Lopunny. It's like very top heavy, but even like the lower tier mods are kind of like strong in themselves, like Araquanid, Arctozolt, Archeops, Mesprit, and like Torgeist. Um, Obviously the big threats of this battle that I'm looking at is mostly the Melmetal. Like Melmetal can two-shot most of my team with the right coverage options, if it's especially if it's banded. Doing double Iron Bash, Thunder Punch, and Earthquake. Of course, you could just run Toxic. You could also bring Iron Defense, Body Press, Rest, which is something I do have to be concerned of. And yeah, uh, he does have a very good Fairy Cord, like with Sylveon and Hydreigon, Melmetal. So like I'll get to those two. Like Sylveon's a good cleric for him, especially if he wants to heal up Pokemon like Rotom and Nidoking. Then you have like the Hydreigon, which is kind of terrifying if you think about it, because it now has a nasty plot, and I have to be concerned about not just Specs Hydreigon, but also set up Hydreigon as well. So yeah. And also there's also the possibility of it being scarfed for, Arrow. But I doubt it's be scarfed. So then you have Lopunny, which I don't know if Chron will bring this Pokemon. Because like Lopunny on the one hand has a couple niches here and there. Because just judging by the team I have right here, as you'll see, uh I don't really like consider Lopunny a major threat. Like I would try to have to like um go through like a couple Pokemon here and there just to attempt to like two shot them or whatnot. Even then, like I still have Arrow, I still have priority with Entei, and most of my Pokemon can like no bulk out against like against the Lop. So, and likewise the other threats on his team aren't that concerning between I guess the fossils like Artizo, Archeops are not that like as you see with Mew said I have like I'm not really concerned with it. Like yeah, they could like set up hazards or like with Artizo's case like it doesn't have enough speed to like outpace most of my team and take advantage of the Volt Beak, but I don't know, he maybe could provide T-Wave support. I'm mostly concerned about the Nidoking, really, because that thing kind of like forced me to team prep around it, and especially with the possibility of like rocks plus T-Spikes. And yeah, um, like T-Spikes on Nidoking could actually be pretty annoying if you ask me. And that's one reason why, as you'll see with this team, I kind of like molded it just so they can like be able to handle that threat. So, and then you have like I guess Sticky Web support with Araquanid, but then again, my team is somewhat moderately like as you see, I have like three Pokemon like boots between Mew, Primarina, and the Entei. I'll explain each set as I get to them. So, um, and what else was I gonna say? Yeah, it's just mainly like the setup breakers, like the like setup options between like Nasty Plot, like Rotom and Hydreigon. Then you have the breakers like Melmetal and um the Nidoking that I'm kind of concerned about. Um, there is one other threat that I would mention is like maybe like CM Mesprit was something that I realized like late into team building was like kind of bad for me since I'm not bringing like Taunt Mew for this week. But either way, I ultimately decided to bring this team, and we'll just get right into the building. So or the whole team prep, you know. So first Pokemon we have is Garfield or Mew. As you'll see, like all these Pokemon have like a reference to the show. So I don't know, there was like a meme going on with BPL regarding Garfield. So yeah, kind of funny, if you ask me. So the set is kind of the same as like almost the previous week. The only difference is I have Wisp to burn the Melmetal and the Lopunny. It's also useful to burn like Artizote and Archeops as well. So even Nidoking if it's for some weird reason, if it's physical. And then again, like I can't even like poison or paralyze it with this team. So I have boots on the Mew because I realized that if this thing gets T-spiked, it's gonna get chipped down like pretty hard, especially with rocks up and plus T-spikes up. I was like pretty much lose like 25%. Well, not like I'll lose like 12.5 initially with the rocks, but then like afterward, like maybe like I'll lose like maybe like 6 like percent, assuming I had leftovers and whatnot. But and with the boots, these help me so that way I don't get like not only do I don't get any chip, but I also don't get if he brings a Rakuen, these like Pokemon like Mew, Primarina, and Entei don't get like you know slowed down. So very important because you know Melmetal with speed and CQF support could actually be pretty annoying. So yeah, but that's what I ultimately settled with. So yeah, the Heal Bell is kind of interesting, but it'll lead to my next Pokemon, which is Suicune, and of course I'm running Rest again. This time I opted for Icy Wind and Cassium Calm Mind. So and yeah, like this Suicune is basically here just to handle the Melmetal and the Lopunny. And I do recognize that it is somewhat like lacking in like leftovers recovery. But I realized that I needed something to like chip down Lopunny and Melmetal, especially if a Pokemon like Melmetal could just spam Double Iron Bash. I figured, you know what, might as well just bring Rocky Helmet just to get injured any chip on it. And yeah, like Rest is just there just to recover like Suicune's HP. Of course, I do have to be concerned about the possibility that Hydreigon and Rotom. I'm not gonna click Rest against those two. I'm probably gonna just sack Suicune in that case. But yeah, like Icy Wind's kind of a weird option if you ask me. But like last minute, I felt that Suicune with the Icy Wind can like pretty much like slow down a couple of his major threats. Like I thought Archeops would like probably like try to go under like 330 speed or like around it more or less, because like he could just bulk it out, and with this I think I outspeed it. The speed investment after like an Icy Wind drop, I could outspeed like Archeops unless he's like full max speed. Obviously with Hydreigon I could outspeed like Hydreigon after like an Icy Wind, and I could just potentially two-shot it if I have enough if I've accumulated enough Calm Mind boost. Lopunny is about the same, but the difference here is that if I get an Icy Wind on Lopunny, then it risks being outsped by like something like an Entei. So yeah, there's not really much to say. Like again, like Suicune really appreciates Mew being able to heal up, you know, via like Heal Bell and Rest. So that's pretty much the whole combination I'm going with. So then we have Primarina and our Liz. And yeah, like this Primarina set is pretty weird if you ask me. It has boots, and normally I'd run leftovers, but I realized that boots Primarina is almost mandatory in this game because of the Hydreigon and T-spot, and also the hazards from Nidoking. And I don't want to. And this is where I would say, like, if Primarina gets chipped by like let's say 25%, and I'm going into like a Hydreigon that's like set up into a nasty plot, then he has a good chance to kill me with like whatever move he has. Especially if it's like Life Orb Modest boosted, maybe like a Life Orb Modest. What can I think of? Like could beat me. Maybe like a Shockwave, Large Beam, I guess. I know he has Belch, but of course there's no Z moves in this league. You can't use Z moves at all, so you can't take advantage of like Z Belch. So yeah. And even then, Belch doesn't even like activate. Like I'm slow as hell. So here's like, he really needs to find a creative way to activate Belch. So in that case, we built this Primarina set, and or I built this Primarina set. So called like Draining Kiss, Encore, and Calm Mind was like something that I was thinking about for a while for this matchup. I know it was like the same, probably the same build I've had I think in like the other games I brought Primarina, but honestly, like it kind of just works really well because like just looking at his team, like he has a Cleric with Sylveon, potential nasty plot setup with like Rotom and Hydreigon, Araquanid I could take advantage of, an Encore in, and Mesprit that could possibly go for Calm Minds. So that's pretty much the whole point of having Prim with Encore, just to lock him in and give me more board position. So Draining Kiss is there just to recover lost HP, even though very likely I'm just going to be hitting like mons like Nidoking, Sylveon, and whatnot. But if I accumulate a lot of Calm Mind boosts, maybe like 2 or 3, like unless he has like a Dracozolt or something like that, like I really don't see him like beating this Prim. I just don't. Like I just either Scald into the Rotom and just recover back lost HP. I think the only way he can beat me, if I accumulate that many setups and if I'm at full, assuming that, is if, which I doubt that would happen, but if I'm somehow set up, then I'm able to like recover back lost HP with Draining Kiss, and Draining Kiss is kind of a very strong recovery option if you think about it, so especially when boosted. So, and of course we have Skull just to burn stuff, hopefully the Melmetal. So yeah. That's all I have to say about Prim. It's mostly there just to check Hydreigon, but we'll see just how that works. So then we have Airman Post. I don't know. That's probably the worst nickname I gave this whole like season of BPL. So, and honestly, this Gliscor set's pretty weird. Well, it's pretty standard if you ask me. What do you mean by weird? I mean like I'm bringing I'm bringing a Gliscor set that's pretty much like set up fodder to Rotom and Hydreigon, yeah, but at least I do have Toxic to kind of like wear them down, and very likely I'm going to be clicking Toxic a vast majority of the time in this game. So unfortunately during team building I was pretty pressed between having Rocks, Earthquake, U-turn, and I pretty much tried a bunch of options for Gliscor, and I ended up settling with Rocks because I realized, well, since Chron's team is pretty fast but his team is pretty fast at some parts, but other parts are like pretty slow. Or I could take those Pokemon on very well. I could at least set up Rocks and just try the Toxic stuff. I had Earthquake. Alright, I ended up keeping Earthquake in the end because I realized that I can't give Nidoking and like Melmetal free setup, and it also is my best option versus Sylveon, so yeah. And one other thing is that like this guy is mostly here just to Toxic most of his team, like, and not really much to say here, so just move on to the other Pokemon that I kind of considered Rocks, but I realized, nah, this is not it. But we brought our arrow this week, and honestly, this Aerodactyl set is pretty powerful if you ask me. Um, like I actually like flirted with the idea of like running Adamant Nature on this Aerodactyl, but the only reason why I didn't do that was because there's a possibility that his Rotom and Nidoking, I guess maybe Mesprit if you want to add in that, is could like run like the could run Scarf like modest or Scarf modest or neutral nature, and I realized maybe I want to outspeed those Pokemon, and if he outspeeds me, then I know he's timid. I know he's like jolly or naive or whatever. So yeah. So Aerodactyl, I'm breaking like the same double-edged set as before because he doesn't really have good double normal spam like responses except for the obvious Melmetal. In fact, Melmetal literally walls Aerodactyl set, and this is one of those like situations where like probably thinking like, why don't you bring Earthquake? And that's true, but the thing is, I ended up like having a lot of 4-move slots hit with Aerodactyl. Like, I already like Double Edge just to hit like everything for neutral. Rock Side's obviously for the Rotom and just any Araquanid. They're full, but if obviously if I have the chance, I could like I could go for the flinch, and just if that's a necessary win con, so or like condition I need to like to achieve victory. So Aerial Ace is mostly there as a my Mega Loft answer, and to be honest, like I didn't want to bring Aerial Ace at all or this fast Aerodactyl, but I figured that this was like probably my best way of like checking Aero or Lopunny in whatever way I can. So yeah. And the last option I had was Crunch. Originally that was Earthquake, but like last minute I was really concerned about Mesprit, and Mesprit was just like really annoying for this like team to the point, almost to the point where I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna run Crunch, and yeah, like, and then for a while I did debate between running Adamant and like versus Jolly, but I ended up going with like Jolly just to ensure that I outsped Lopunny. And aforementioned like Scarf threats, Scarf Rotom and Scarf um who was it? The Scarf Nidoking. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this Aerodactyl. It's pretty much our cleaner and one of our win cons. And our last Pokemon I'll go over is the Entei. And Entei is mostly here as a somewhat cleaner slash win con slash breaker slash I don't know. I do have boots with Entei just to ensure that I don't take any spikes and rocks damage, and otherwise I would literally like lose Entei. Howl is just there as like a setup option in case I'm up against the Sylveon or the Melmetal, where it's locked into that. If there's one thing I will say is that we have multiple ways to burn Melmetal between the Entei with Sacred Fire, Primarina with Scalds, I guess with Suicune as well, and the Mew with Wisp. So on the physical side, we got that locked down. It's just that his special threats like the Nidoking and the Rotom, Hydreigon, or something, and also I guess you could add in Mesprit. There's something I'm kind of concerned about. So the last move I added was like mostly Howl. I did think about adding like Toxic on Entei for a while, but I ended up picking Flare Blitz, and Flare Blitz is mostly there just to like ensure that I OHKO Melmetal, because there were some situations where I need Flare Blitz over Sacred Fire. Other than the whole accuracy thing, like I have more power and I could like potentially just OHKO Melmetal after like it's taken some chip. So yeah, and I do outspeed Nidoking with this Entei. I think I outspeed with him. Yeah, I outspeed like by a couple points. And of course, I do have E-Speed in that regard. But like, if he does, if the Nidoking does outspeed me, then I'll know immediately that he is like scarfed. So also Hydreigon, if Hydreigon for some reason is modest, I will outspeed it. So not that it matters because Hydreigon kind of walls me, but yeah, that's something to note. Um, as mentioned, I like the idea of having Howl as a setup option because um, if I'm given the chance to set up a Howl or two, and his team is pretty much shipped down, then yeah, I could just go to town and just attempt to win with Entei. So yeah, there's not really much to say about this team. Like again, like I have my obvious cleaners, breakers, and like walls for this matchup. Um, for me, the biggest threats are actually CM Mesprit, spikes, he spikes Nidoking because it'll still wear down my Suicune. That's because of course I'm not running boots, and the who is it? Melmetal. So yeah, um, I guess you could say Rotom. Like if I had to say what he would bring, I'd say Melmetal, Sylveon, Nidoking. I would say top heavy, and I would be surprised if he brings Lopunny because I just like I don't know if he brings it because I think he has viable like Scarfers and Rotom, Hydreigon, and Nidoking to the point where like obviously those three are like the very obvious Scarfers if you're gonna bring Scarf or choice I like maybe Scarf or Specs, one of those like as a choice option. And Melmetal could be like banded for all I care. So yeah. So yeah. Like pretty much the whole goal here is just to get a victory and like go into a BPL finals. So yeah. That's the team, and I'll just go right into the battle and just explain how that goes.
This is a certified hood classic.
Alright, so we're back. So for those of you who skipped to this portion of the video, um, again, I'd like to remind everyone that we're up against Chron in semis. So yeah, um, for this semifinals matchup, uh, Chron's brought a very interesting team as you see. He has like some fossil Pokemon, well, usual suspects, you know, the Sylveon, the levitating nasty plotters, because of course they're just levitating and just plotting. They're plotting my demise, I don't know. Then you have the bunny. So obviously I'm kind of like, you know, ecstatic that he didn't bring Melmetal, didn't bring Nidoking. Those are like two Pokemon I kind of prepped for the most. But at that point I was like, alright. Alright, we trade, let's say, Archeops and, well, the fossils, Archeops and, Arctozel for the Melmetal and the, Nidoking. So I'm like, alright, I'm fine battling with those two Pokemon. So, to give a brief recap of my team, well, I have like 3 boots Pokemon, Primarina, Entei, and, Mew. They all have the heavy-duty boots. Suicune is the exception, and well, obviously Gliscor and Aerodactyl. This Aerodactyl has the Mega Stone, and Gliscor has the Toxic Orb, and Suicune here has the what was it? The Rocky Helmet. So, um, so looking at his team, to me it seems like it's built around Arctozolt, and it might just be a very offensive base team with like, you know, maybe some nasty plot set up with like Hydreigon and Rotom, and then like you have Arctozolt there. It could be like deceiving, like in a way, because like, you know, you can have also T-Wave support as well. So I do have to be very careful about like possible substitute Pokemon here and there, since Gliscor is like, yes, it has Toxic to just, you know, chip away at these Pokemon, but I don't have anything else. So yeah, and pretty much the main goal is try to chip his entire team down so that one of my Pokemon, more specifically Aerodactyl or Entei, could win this game with like, you know, with their like coverage options respectively. So so let's just get right into the game. He's gonna be leading off with Archeops, and I'll be leading off with Gliscor. So we're both leading off with our flyers here. So that's pretty good. So maybe one of them has, maybe he has a random many hidden power ice for me. So right now I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what the hell can you do to me? And obviously, since he led with this, I'm thinking this could be like a lead Archeops. And I was thinking to myself, the last game that happened with the guy, I was just like, wait, this could be like a sort of lead suicide Archeops, so maybe we'll try to go for it in Power Ice or something, right? Get up his rocks ASAP. So I decided, you know what, let's just get up rocks, because rocks are fine. He goes for the knockoff and he removes my Toxic Orb, and I'm like, well, that's not nice. Like, you give that back. Give me that, like, Archeops better give that Toxic Orb back by the end of the game. Like, win or lose, I want that Toxic Orb back. So, I mean, it's still fine because I could still boost up, so. Or maybe I could try to get into a Toxic. So here he goes for the taunt, and I can't Toxic him back, and I'm like, well, shit. So I'm forced to go into Suicune or Blue John here. Oh yeah, by the way, all these I guess you could say Pokemon are nicknamed after Garfield and friends. I don't know, there's like a meme that me and John are Chron like have for a while, so here he goes for the Tailwind, and I'm like, okay, this is definitely built around Arctozote, so I'm like thinking to myself, okay, is that thing Life Orb or Banded or something like that? So now at this point, we gotta figure out what to do. Here he goes for the knockoff, and unfortunately he removes my helmet. I go for the Icy Wind just to slow down the potential like Archeops like switching. I could have went for the burn, but obviously, or what's called, but obviously, like, I don't want to give him a free switch. So yeah, because first of all, Nintendo Switches are very like expensive, but also because like last time I gave something a free switch, that bit me in the ass really hard. So yeah, like we're up against this Archeops here. So here he's gonna go for the U-turn, and I'm gonna try to go for the Sniffy Boy as I go for the Icy Wind. I reduce the speed, so that's fine. Now, this is a very interesting turn because I decided to go to Mew because even if he predicts Sticks and he goes for the Bolt Beak, I kind of don't give like a shade in the way because I could just roost up. So if he wants to play around with the whole Icicle Crash versus Bolt Beak, that's fine. I'm just gonna go for Mew. Just make the obvious play. Goes for the Crash, huge because I'm able to. I know for sure I could outspeed this thing. So here I decided to go for the S-Toss, get some good chip. As he goes for the T-Wave, and I'm like, oh crap. Well, now well, obviously we now know this thing doesn't have well, I think he did took rocks damage, right? Yeah, he did. So he doesn't have boots. And he's not Life Orb, so that means he's not choice banned either. So that's pretty good. So, but he does T-Wave me, and I do try to synchronize him. But I remember this thing is like an electric ice type, and I'm like, oh yeah, not all the fossils are rock type anymore. So these are like the first like rock type or fossil Pokemon that are like non like rock types. I don't know. I think they're like ice. I don't know. I might be wrong right there. So either way, he's gonna definitely outspeed me. So here he's gonna go for the Bolt Beak, and he goes 51%. I get paralyzed here. I wanted to go for Heal Bell, but unfortunately I get the paralysis. So yeah. I don't know how much it would have mattered because I probably would have just gotten up chip on this guy, and maybe I would have been able to like it would have come down to like me playing around like with the Arctozote a bit, because of course I could make the play with Gliscor, but of course it goes into that. But now at this point I'm like, yeah, I gotta sack Mew. So Mew's gotta go down here, and we go into Odie. So Odie's gonna avenge Garfield here. So here's gonna go to the bird up, and I'm just gonna go for Sacred Fire, and he's gonna. I think we just go tick for tack for sacks here. So out comes the Hydreigon, and I'm like already like, all right. So these are some major alarm bells going off. So I have to be very careful because Hydreigon could set up a nasty plot. So, or just go for a raw like Dracometer or Dark Post. But either way, I'm like, I gotta go into Prim like right the fuck now. So, here he's gonna go for sub, and this is huge for me. And learning that he's leftover sub is huge because that means he would have this. This likely indicates that he's like nasty plot for sure. And I'm like, okay, if I could encore him right now, I could maybe just get like force him out, and maybe if I'm very cheeky, I could go for a skull onto an incoming Rotom or Sylveon. Maybe get a burn on one of those on Sylveon for sure. So, here he's gonna go for the Tailwind, and I'm like, okay, and that gives you even more information because it's like, wait, you can't have Roost because that'd be a very weird set. So at this point, I'm like, okay, Roost is off the table because he has leftovers. So at this point, I'm like thinking to myself, he can't have Draco Meteor as well because you know Prim, and I'm like, maybe he has Dark Pulse, maybe there's a mono attacking Hydreigon. But yeah, like Hydreigon's now like Encore locked, and I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? Let's just go for a Scald, see what he does. He switches out and goes to Sylveon. As we go for the Scald, and we don't burn it, but we do learn that this thing is non-leftovers. Here I try to go for the Calm Mind as he goes for the Yawn as a good tech on his end to prevent my own setup. So, but at this point I'm kind of wasting his turns of Tailwind, so he's not taking advantage of Arctozolt very much. So here I go to Entei, in the off chance he goes into Arctozolt. That way I could E-speed him down. So here he's gonna Wish Pass, attempt to Wish Pass here. He's gonna go for the Protect, and I do go for the Sacred Fire. And I kind of do it just because I thought maybe he'd just like be cheeky and go for Yawn. But it is what it is. I could have like gone for Howl right there on that point, and maybe I would have gotten massive damage on the Sylveon. But then I think he would have just went for Yawn, like you know that Yawn. So here I'm gonna go for Sacred Fire, and I get the burn, which is huge because since he has no leftovers, he's gonna be taking like 6.3% like chip every turn. So that's pretty like big for us. So Sylveon's kind of a little bit neutralized there. So here he goes for the Yawn because on right at this point I'm like, okay, alright, you yawned me, but Sylveon, there's no way in hell that this thing has a Heal Bell, because if it does, then this thing is literally settle fodder for Suicune. So, and even then, like no Hyper Voice is really questionable. So, so at this point, I'm gonna go into Gliscor, and he goes for the Hyper Voice. So I'm like, all right, we now know his full moveset. So I'm just gonna roost up a bit, and at this point, I'm kind of like trying to bait out the Hydreigon and Rotom. I kind of want him to switch into those two, as he goes for another Yawn. So obviously I can't get put this. I don't want to be put to sleep with the Gliscor because you know, like at this point, this game the biggest threat is Rotom. All I have to do is just weaken the Rotom, and we'll get Rotom below, like, or find out what the hell Rotom's set is. And Hydreigon is also pretty huge as well. So yeah, if I can get any more chip, that's pretty good. So here he's gonna go for the Wish, and this is where I decide, you know, I'm just gonna go for Scald. And here he attempts to go into Arctozolt, and I actually catch him on the switch. So I'm able to get rid of the Arctozolt, and he goes into Yams, the Lopunny. And at this point, I'm like, okay, this thing could be very scary. So, but the fact he switched this thing in like right out almost immediately implies that he is some weird Lopunny set that he's brought. Like maybe he's like, you know, Power Punch or Cosmic Power into setup Baton Pass. I do like to remind everyone that that is a possible ring. So maybe he could stay on like, you know, on Mega go for a Cosmic Power, and then go into Rotom and just nasty plot up and win. That's something I'm kind of concerned about. But I do have Encore on deck, so maybe like that will determine if I'm going for that setup. So at this point I'm like fine, like letting like the Primarina stay in here. So here he's gonna go for the Toxic, stays on Mega, and I go for the Grading Kiss. And at this point, like I got some good chip on Lopunny to the point where like he's pretty much forced to stay like. Well, I wouldn't say stay in, but like he's gonna die to Aerodactyl's Aerial Ace for sure now. So, like I said, we just need to get chip damage on the Rotom and on the Hydreigon, and we're fine. So, and Sylveon is at 70% or like 60 or 58 after like rocks. So, here I'm gonna switch out because I don't want to get any further damage. And he goes for the Protect, and I'm like, okay, so this is a is this like a subtoxic stall like Lopunny? Because if that's the case, then Gliscor is gonna enjoy this Lopunny. So at this point, I'm just gonna go. I think I go for like an Earthquake here, and yeah, we get a lot of chip on this Sylveon. I did consider going for Toxic, but at this point, I'm like, I'm just gonna go for a raw Earthquake because I kind of don't care. Like if he tries to switch into Sylveon, that's fine. Or if he stays in with Lopunny, that's huge because that means there's one less Pokemon to deal with. But it also opens up Suicune immensely. So, but yeah, Sylveon's like being switched into there, like just like means now it's like kind of like sack fodder. So here he goes to Earthquake, and he goes into Rotom now, and of course this thing has boots since he can take any rocks damage. So now, the moment of truth. We gotta find out what exactly is this Rotom set. And he goes for the Hidden Power Ice, likewise. And unfortunately, I miss my Toxic. It's pretty big because that means no gradual chip, like throughout the turns. And now I don't know what the hell this Rotom can do, or to me. Like, I knew that he was gonna bring like Hidden Power Ice against Gliscor because let's be honest, Hidden Power Ice like Rotom versus Gliscor just makes sense. But the miss on the Toxic on the Rotom is really huge here, so now I'm kind of forced to sack my my Gliscor. I guess the only caveat of this is that I know that he's non like special attack invested, because otherwise that would have done way more damage. So I think if I had my Toxic Orb up, I think I would have definitely like walled this thing a bit until like finally I would have given out. So enough to where like Arrow can just kill it with like Double Edge or Rock Slide. So yeah, here I'm just forced to sack, and at this point I'm just going to Entei, and I don't want to switch to any of my Pokemon because they're all weak to Electric. Actually I'm very weak to Electric at this point in the game. So, but most of my team is fairly healthy versus most of his team. So all I have to do is weaken this Rotom and we're fine. So here I'm going to start chipping at Rotom and I do 30%. He crits me with the Electro Lib, and that's kind of annoying because now he's going to get like, well, the speed drop doesn't really matter, but the damage he does is pretty big as well. So, but here he lets me take another like E-Speed as he goes for a Volt Switch and goes into the Lopunny, and that's pretty huge because alright, so we're back. Alright, so right now we're like 4-4. Me versus Chron. And looking at like what's going on right now, he goes into Volt Switch with his Rotom and he goes into like Lopunny as I get the E-Speed damage just before he goes with the Volt Switch itself. So at this point, Rotom is kinda checked. And I could kill this thing with Aerodactyl with Double Edge without risking a Rock Slide. Like even if he's like max defense, max like Biz Def, unless like really bulky. I think the major threat now is Hydreigon, so I want to try to get as much chip damage onto Hydreigon as possible. Maybe get it below like half. So since like Double Edge should be able to knock him out below half. So, but we do have a healthy Primarina, albeit toxic, and Suicune at play here. So here I decide, you know what, I'm gonna go to Suicune because this is my answer to the Lopunny, as he's going to go for the Facade. This is pretty much big information to know because technically speaking, this Lopunny can't do much versus my team, or in particular Suicune. So unless his last move is HJK or like Pyro Punch, we're kind of good because we technically status this thing, and ideally I wouldn't be able to status it at all. So at this point I'm like, all right, we're good. As long as I could like maybe get an Icy Wind off and like, you know, rest up, we should be fine. So like just right after I go for this rest. So here he's gonna go for the rest, as I go for recovery, just to like get lost HP back and pressure the life off and even more. Obviously I need this Suicune alive. Here he goes for Encore, which is his last move, and this is very huge because basically speaking, I wall this Lopunny with Aerodactyl, and not only that, Suicune walls it as well. Granted, I have lost my Rocky Helmet, but here's the thing: he can't Encore lock me forever, and I could just at some point I could just go for Scald or Icy Winds, and I could just maybe get enough chip to where, like, you know, I could just pick it off with a Scald. So the big problem here is that the Hydreigon and Rotom, because they could potentially have a Nasty Plot respectively. So, and of course Hydreigon has Tailwind. So at this point I'm thinking to myself, like, do I stay in or do I like make a hard double into Entei so that way I could start, you know, like attempting to sweep with arrows. So I do acknowledge that Entei is kind of the weakest link to this team, even though despite it having E-Speed. I do recognize that like Lopunny doesn't get a lot of value. Like, well, and like Lopunny is just pretty much here. Like, it has a Facade. It's not powered up, you know, compared to like maybe like Return. So that's pretty huge. And with no like Power Punch setup, like Lopunny is just like, kind of like sitting here. But the real concern here is the Hydreigon, since he could have like Nasty Plot, like, so he could just switch in any point. So, and throughout these couple turns, this is like pretty much what we were doing, because we both acknowledged that like one of us is gonna get out of this situation. So I do waste a turn of rest right there because I'm healthy. So my Encore ends, it protects, and here I decided to go with Entei. I thought he was gonna attack me or just go for Encore, like either get a sack or, you know, either one is fine. But he goes for Toxic, and I'm like, well, shit. And at this point I'm like, alright, so Entei's pretty much dead. So here I decide to take advantage of the situation, just go for a Howl, and just try and like pick up the Lopunny. Of course he has a Sylveon there, so we technically both sack each other's Pokemons, or main sacks. So yeah, now it's Aerodactyl versus the Hydreigon. And at this point it just really comes down to who the hell kill each other and the coverage on this Hydreigon. Of course this thing isn't Life Orb, so that's pretty huge. So otherwise I would have just hard switched to Primarina, but my real concern is whether or not like I should stay in or he goes for Tailwind. So obviously like Rotom is a huge threat for me for this end game. So Electro Webs, Volt Switch, Hidden Power Ice is something like I really like can't deal with most of my team. Because I mean I'm literally weak to electric, so now, so I'm weighing my options. I could go switch charge at Primarina. Suicune's kind of useful still. Like, it's no longer, you know, like put to sleep. So and now I decide, you know, I do have Rock Slide, I could just flinch this Hydreigon and just win right here. So I kind of go for it. Um, so I'm going to Mega and I'm going to go for Rock Slide. I am able to land, and I don't get the flinch, but he doesn't go for the Tailwind, or he does go for the Tailwind, but he doesn't attack me, which is very huge, because now I have to stall out all these turns of Tailwind with the Primarina. As he goes for Dark Pulse as his, I think, as his like his third option. Here he goes for the sub. Obviously he's trying to Toxic Stall me, and I actually go for the Scald here, just because I thought that maybe he goes into Rotom, because I couldn't really let like him switch into Rotom that freely. So, of course this is a good play on his end, so I'll give him credit for that. So, he goes for the Scald, and he gets the sub up. Here I think I go for the Draining Kiss, because obviously I want this thing sub removed, and now he has only one turn of tail. I think this is the last turn of Tailwind. So, at this point, this is a very interesting predicament, because I could like, he has like Chron has a choice here. Either he sacks Hydreigon and goes for Tailwind and he gets 3 turns to abuse Tailwind, or he goes for the Dark Pulse and just like sacks his Hydreigon. Either way, he goes for like, or gets whatever damage off with Primarina. So, but either way, like, my main concern is if he goes for Tailwind, I could technically live the possible Toxic the next turn, because, you know, Drain Kiss does recover me a lot more HP, you know, with 75% recovery of the original damage, and with Hydreigon's, like, you know, HP value is, maybe I could get like 16%, and I could still have enough to threaten the Rotom and the Lopunny. Obviously, waste turns of Tailwind, maybe like 1 extra turn. So if he goes for Tailwind now, he'll have like 3 turns of Tailwind to abuse, and he would have to spend 1 turn to sack. Well, obviously, at that point I would just stay with Primarina. So, and then I'd go to Suicune and hope that I don't get crit. So yeah, it all comes down to this turn. He goes for the Dark Pulse, and that is massive, because of course he flinches me, but like, that's huge, because now he has no Tailwind, he has no T-Wave, and Arrow's here, and he's looking to kill. And there's 3 Pokemon right here. Toaster, this I don't know, this Godzilla monster, Moth, I don't know my like thing lore or whatever. So, and a bunny. So now we just clean with the whatever coverage moves we have. So we go for Double Edge, knock with the Hydreigon, and I know I'm faster than this, so I'm gonna go for Aerial Ace, not taking any chances. And lastly, go for the Double Edge again, and yeah, we win 2-0 against Chron. So honestly, looking back at this, I think like the early turns, especially like him losing Arctazil was huge, because like especially early on, because that pretty much gave me a lot of leeway to like position myself into a situation where like Aerodactyl can like pretty much, or Entei, or even Suicune could like win the game. Of course, like, you know, the Toxic miss onto the Rotom was pretty huge, and meaning that if I had gotten the Toxic there, I might have been able to kill it like a little bit earlier on, or not a little bit early, but like towards the mid game. And yeah, I feel like we both kind of brought eccentric sets here and there. Like, I do think the yawn on like Sylveon was a good call, as well as knockoff taunt, you know, like this guy, and like the Arctazil was pretty cool. I'll give him massive props for that. So I'm not so sure what the last, I never asked what the last option was on the Rotom. I'm gonna check. So I'm gonna go on my phone and see what he has. Let me see what he messaged me with. Let me see what he got. Alright, I have his Paceman. What did he had? He had he had overheat. Oh, oh my god. So stupid. Oh my god. Like all the amount of mock battles I did, and like there were some games where like I thought he would legitimately bring just Bolt Beam coverage. And it's like, oh yeah, he could just have overheat, so and it kind of made sense for him not to bring it because I had like 2 pressure Pokemon, and you know that's like far less turns, and you're just wasting your special attack. Whereas you could just increase your special attack with the Nasty Plot. So yeah, I thought he would not like carry like that, like overheat option, but he did. So turns out the Hydreigon was like max HP and max speed with like no special attack investment. But of course, the flinch factor was huge. Lopunny was really bulky. Really bulky bunny right there. So yeah, the Arctozolt had a Lumberry there, so it could have like taken the Wisp. So yeah, like if I went for Wisp on the Arctozolt, then I would have been in trouble. So yeah, the Berry on Sylveon, and the Berry would have been like, I think he said that he told me like in the chat like he thought that he would bring Ironhead with arrow, since that was my only way to break it Sylveon with it. But I was like, nah, I was just hoping to chip everything down for like arrow and Entei to win. But yeah, I think based off the teams, I think based off both teams, I think I had a slightly better build in terms of matchups. Like obviously Arctozolt's a massive threat, but I think everything else was just like obviously the Rotom, Hydreigon, like, and the Sylveon were like the 3 big threats, as well as the Arctozolt, so maybe 4. But I think the Lopunny, like, it didn't really do much. Like, not gonna lie. So like I think the whole point of the Lopunny was to get status at some point, but it never got status at all. And even then, I was just gonna be able to chip it down a bit by bit. So, and Lopunny would have just died at some point. So yeah. So, but I do think that like in terms of like him bringing the Rotom, Hydreigon, Sylveon, and the Arctozolt, I think those were the right calls in my opinion, because Arctozolt did do a number to my team. I think the Arctozolt was like really very annoying, but thankfully we were able to get rid of it early on. So but yeah, like I'll give props to Chron for like making it to BPL semifinals. Like it's kind of funny because I did battle Chron in like a different like league and semis, and we had another close game. And I don't know if I'll detail that league soon. I'm not, for that league, maybe I'll do like a movie type story. But either way, GG's to Chron, and yeah, like oh, I forgot to explain our side a bit. So, well, yeah, I guess like Neo didn't do anything, but like Marino was really strong, as well as Suicune and Entei. Like the rest of the like 5, I think were really good. So, even though like I think this is just a basic Gliscor set, I think it was just decent enough to like hold them off. And getting those rocks up are pretty massive as well, because that pretty much gave me information on whether or not Hydreigon was leftovers, Rotom was boots, especially like getting chip on the Arctozolt and like Archeops. I guess Lopunny, but then again Lopunny's like resisted, so yeah. I guess Aerodactyl did its job again, so good job, boy. Boy, our boy. So yeah, that's the game. So next video, I think I'm going to be going over our BPL Season 4 finals, our finals battle, as we took on Zero. So I'll just like I think likewise I'll go with the same format with I've been doing with this playoffs. I'll just explain my team, and I'll just like go over. Then I'll go over the you know, battle, what happened, whatnot. So yeah, I guess that's all. So, anyways, hope you guys are washing your hands and whatnot. Uh, wash your hands and keep everything clean. So, see ya.